Welcome everyone to the last series of the WINiT in 45. We have a great panel today. I am going to just let you all know that we are going to be recording the call today. We were also going to be sending out a survey after the call, so please take some time to give us your feedback, which will be greatly appreciated and help us to develop our series for the following year. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Molly MacMillan with Enterprise.
Hi, good morning, and thank you so much for the introduction. And thank you for the opportunity to have this time with you today. Really excited about this. It's the last session of the year. I can't believe I'm even saying of the year, but it is that time. And we're really excited because we're going to be talking about finance and something that we're extremely passionate about. So for today's meeting, before we kick it off, I do want to congratulate all of the women that were nominated and won the Top 50 award. It's obviously very exciting. So I'm extremely humbled and proud to be surrounded by such amazing women like yourselves. So thank you for all of your support and congratulations once again on those winnings. Today, before we get started, we're going to try to keep this an open forum as well and encourage you guys to ask questions throughout this discussion. If you want it, we want to keep it fun, so feel free to tell us where you're calling in from. We were laughing before the call. It's pretty cold. I'm from upstate New York, so I look forward to seeing the comments and questions from those warmer states so I can admire where you're calling in from. Today, we have two amazing, incredible speakers from our company for Enterprise Holdings. So I'm going to pass it on to Tara Ketcham so she can introduce herself. Tara?
Good morning. Thank you, Molly. Congratulations again for being recognized as WINiT's Top 50 Women in Travel. So happy to have you joining the conversation today, and Marie as well. My name is Tara Ketcham. I am Vice President of the Business Development Team for the West Coast operations for Enterprise Holdings. I've been with Enterprise for 20 years. I've lived all over the country, been in multiple business segments, and happy to live here in St. Louis at our global headquarters. Excited to chat with you all today. WINiT is such an important part of GBTA, the travel industry, and very important to Enterprise Holdings. I also am a strategic advisory board member, and so I'm thrilled to be a part of these conversations. I'll turn it over to Marie to introduce herself.
Thanks, Tara. Hi, everyone. I am thrilled to have the opportunity to join all of you today. And Tara and Molly and so many members of our team speak so highly, and I know the partnership with GBTA is so important, and for us, that's everything. So my role is a little different than theirs in that I day-to-day oversee our global talent acquisition at Enterprise. So that's everything hiring and selection for the company. Internally and externally. So a really fun job, a really challenging one today, but definitely one that fits what we're talking about. I have been with Enterprise, I hate to say it, in next month, I'll be with Enterprise for 30 years. Please don't do that math. And have had the opportunity to start, as many of us did, in our management training program, grow in the business side of things, and then move into the HR and recruiting world. And I also sit in St. Louis here at our headquarters, and I look forward to talking to all of you today.
Fantastic. So let's kick it off again. And just a reminder, we love the questions, so keep them coming, and we'll try to address everything as we go. So getting started, first question, I'll open this up to Tara. How does having a solid business acumen and financial acumen support your long-term goals in your career?
Yeah, so thanks, Molly. I think that's a pretty important question. I first want to start by saying, disclaimer, I am not a licensed financial professional. So Molly, please promise me you will not take any personal portfolio investment advice from me today. But I do think that, truly kidding aside, Building your financial and business acumen is really critical to developing your career long term. I think that, it really can kind of start at the micro level with understanding, how does your role play a part in impacting your company and your organization and their bottom line. Getting an understanding of how your division plays a part in that, and really getting, as you continue to expand out beyond your sort of micro level, what does that look like? How does the global economy impact our travel industry, our organization specifically, and starting to build some acumen around that, I think is really critical. I think it also helps give you a greater sense of purpose. I think a lot of folks in the last 2 years have really kind of taken a step back, and we've all heard about the Great Resignation and people really kind of taking a look internally and saying, am I doing what I feel like I'm fulfilling a purpose and a mission? I think when you understand how your specific role in your team impacts the bottom line of your company and how you can help drive that performance, it really gives you a better sort of feeling of how you can be a greater part of the purpose and the mission of the organization that you're working with. And I also think it creates a level playing field as you continue to move and progress in your career, to talk to higher level executives, to have that financial acumen, to be able to speak intelligently about what's going on in the global economy and how that plays a part in our business, whether it's within your own organization or helping to understand your business partners' economic environment.
Absolutely. And Marie, what would you say from a recruiting standpoint?
Yeah, I think everything that Tara mentioned is so applicable. I certainly, not my strong point in accounting and finance as a background, but no matter what you do, that acumen is going to be something that helps you. So, I always give the example, if you're speaking to anyone in your business, the more you can take away the talking in I thinks and I feels and giving a data-driven response to something, which is typically looking at numbers and financials and data, the better you're going to be able to connect with an operator within your business or a different part of the business that you don't deal with every day, or a client or a customer. So I think there's just a lot that's applicable from a recruiting standpoint. I think, the more applicable experience that you have, the more business knowledge that you have, the more marketable you're going to be. So that's kind of the common sense end of things. But when we look at, so for enterprises, that's my world. I know if we look at kind of our hiring and our recruitment, we really want to understand, those what we call transferable or soft skills. They used to be our soft skills. We now call them life skills because they really have become almost more important than experience itself. And so, the more you can articulate as you're looking at an opportunity or a promotion, how you can connect to that and what you know about it. You don't necessarily have to have been an accountant, but the more you can articulate how you can understand a financial statement or what the impact of expense or revenue on that is, that, the better. So, I think as you look at it from a recruiting standpoint, a diverse candidate is a great candidate. So, how can you adapt in different situations? And so having that financial acumen is only going to help you to be able to better tell your story.
Absolutely. I remember when I interviewed for my position to start my career with Enterprise Holdings, I was like, surely I have the business acumen because I just went to school and paid all this money for a college degree. And I really did. And I felt really confident in it. What I didn't realize is what the financial acumen side of it was, because it was like, we're learning how to operate a business and run a business, but how do you take it to that higher level and be able to talk about the financial side of it? Because obviously every part of what we do and every business decision we make, it's all about the financial impact of it, and not just for myself, but for the entire company. So I thought it was really interesting where I came in having all this confidence about, I'm so business savvy and I've got the business acumen. And then I was like, wait, what is this finance acumen stuff? I thought we were just talking about debits and credits in college. It was a lot more than that. So it kind of ties into our second question with, in terms of the finance piece of it, what would you say has helped you early on in your careers to be able to strengthen that business acumen and have a good understanding of it?
So Molly, I'll answer that one first. I totally agree with you. I actually started as an intern in college with Enterprise. So I was exactly same like-minded as you when I came out of college and enrolled right into my career at Enterprise. I think the important thing to recognize is that, to your point, so many of us come into the job force with very differing experiences about discussing finances. And I think particularly for women and in different cultures and backgrounds, finance isn't really discussed, or, maybe it wasn't as much with me and the way that I was brought up. So I think that the first time that a lot of these conversations are happening for a lot of us do happen, either in college or even post-college in your first job. So I think, at the end of the day, it ends up becoming humility. That's the name of the game. I think we all have to get to a place where we may understand that this is an intimidating situation to put ourselves out there and to say, I don't understand what this means. I'm not really sure about that. But recognizing that knowledge gap, I think, self-awareness is so critical for all of us. And I think that recognizing and acknowledging I have this knowledge gap and I need to learn more about it. I try to think about it in terms of my personal finances. I recognize I do not have the skills, the resources, or the tools to invest my money for long-term planning for the future. So I work with a financial advisor to do that, help guide me along my financial journey. I think of it the same way within your career. Try to partner up with some folks, either within your organization, within the network, within the WINiT community, that maybe are subject matter experts on the financial side of the house. Like I mentioned, I'm 2 decades in the travel industry, predominantly on the sales side of the house. So I don't claim to be a financial expert, but I've surrounded myself with people that are. I try to connect with folks that can help me learn. If I see something that they have a strength, I try to connect with them and strive to, learn more about what they know. And really just asking questions. It really just comes back to, swallowing our pride sometimes and that humility piece where we do have to ask questions about things that we don't understand, because you never want to be having a seat at the table and you're finally there and then you don't know, or you can't hang with the conversation and really keep up with what the discussion that's being had. It's too important, from a business standpoint, to not understand the financial inner workings of how your organization makes money. What's the growth projection? How does that all function within, your organization? And I think that those that are constantly seeking out ways to help continually learn and develop themselves are going to be the ones that separate themselves in the long run. Marie, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. It's the idea of you don't need to be an expert at everything, but the first thing that came to mind when you asked the question is, surround yourself with those people that are capable of helping you, to be stronger, from learning with them, or just as you build a team or you move into other roles. I think, it's important to understand that we're in a world where, we've shifted to data and analytics and the understanding of those. So not even just the accounting side of finance or the numbers and spreadsheet side of it, but, everything that goes into, a data-driven world is becoming more key to no matter what you do. So, my example would be within my own team, where we jokingly always say that, I am by far the least capable of any kind of data analysis. I can ask for it. I know what I want. We can talk about it, but the delivering on it is not my strength. So making sure that I have a teammate or teammates that have that strength that can then walk me through it, do some of the things that I'm not as strong at, teach them to me, and in turn, as a team, we're able to provide what the business needs. So, I think when it comes to, as I learned through my career, was that I didn't have to know how to do everything myself, as long as I had, a network and a team that could help with that and that we could do it together, giving them, of course, though, the credit along the way to know that you can't do it without them. So I think there's a good balance there of learning from others. And, it's just, as you do that and as you grow in your career, for me, it was then understanding where I did learn something and having the confidence to actually communicate that. And especially in the world of, growing your career, how do you, again, take what you've learned and have the confidence to demonstrate that knowledge and understanding and show someone else what you've learned or how it impacts what you do or what they can do, so that it helps you to whatever those next steps are that you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, with everything we do, anytime there's a new plan or a new idea that we want to come to the table with, if you don't have that business finance acumen and you haven't fully understood how to break it down, you don't have that confidence to present the real value in it. And we can't even proactively look at how are we going to achieve these KPIs, these goals, these results that we want to achieve if we don't know how to break it down and even take it to that level. So that was definitely something I struggled with early on. I felt a little bit more insecure. And I'll be honest, if I heard predominantly a lot of males in the room that could speak very directly to it and very confidently, and maybe they didn't even have the right answer, but I believed it because I was like, wow, that's what the report is saying and that's what they're saying, so it's right. So it feels so empowering to know and be able to dissect like reporting and financing and understand how every piece of that impacts everything we do with our decision making and everything that we're deciding on for moving forward. So I appreciate that. And I'm looking at the chat box and trying to look at it. I'm like, maybe I don't see it, but I don't have any questions that have come through yet, which is surprising. Because usually we have a talkative group on here. So feel free to add some questions so it's not just us speaking. Let's get on to another question that we have. What tips or insight do you have for women that want to build their financial backing and knowledge?
So I think the great thing is you've heard that the three of us have pretty tenured careers within enterprise. So we're very fortunate to have come up through such a great company and organization. There were very limited resources, or maybe I just didn't know how to seek them out probably 20 years ago. There are so many resources available today. And I think that's what's so amazing. I mean, hopefully lots of our listeners are doing lots of reading, listening to podcasts. That is where I seek out most of my content and information to keep up to date today. I do firmly believe, like I said, sort of having that career financial advisor, having some go-to folks within your network, within your organization that can help you along that journey. I think that that's always critical, but I do think that trying to keep up with the global economy and having a general understanding of what's happening in the world around us, it's important, and not to get political, but you do have to understand, are there any big global headlines or anything happening in the political arena, any statements that have been made that does have an impact on the stock market? How does the Fed respond when the jobs reports come out or unemployment rates come out? What impact is that going to have on the global economy? And then in turn, how does that translate to our organization, to the travel industry, to my division, business travel, my team, my employees? And so I think, again, taking it sort of at the macro level. Now, let me be totally transparent. I do not sit and read the Wall Street Journal front to back. I have no attention span for that, nor really true interest in doing that. But I do need to sort of have a general understanding of the key headlines and things that are happening around the world. And so I think having that general understanding of, what does that mean, to our company, to our organization? How might this impact enterprise and our brands and our employees? And so thinking about our organization, what is our financial performance right now? What are our growth projections? What do our profit margins look like? And keeping very close watch and connection to that, and making sure that the things that our teams are doing every day and focused on every day are leading and driving towards that performance and those goals. To Marie's side of the house, the labor shortage right now, how is that impacting our day-to-day operations? And, we're all hearing supply chain, the buzzword supply chain. What does that mean from a retention standpoint, a recruitment standpoint? And what's the downstream effect, on every part of the business that I can make an impact every single day, that my team can make an impact on every single day? And how does that translate to the end user, to our customers? And so getting your head wrapped around, sort of that macro level information information, and how do you dissect that and dial it down to the things that you're focused on every day, in your personal role. I also think really getting a good understanding and keeping tabs on what's happening in the travel industry. And obviously GBTA does a phenomenal job getting us content consistently and keeping us informed about what's happening in the travel space. But, how are the variants, impacting? How is the pandemic impacting travelers, travel suppliers, all of us? There's been tons of consolidation across the industry. You really need to familiarize yourself with what's happening within your space, any merger and acquisition activity. And then just the supply and demand, all of this has changed for us in the travel space. And so there's always something new. There's always a new headline. And so it's important that we don't, sit back and live in a bubble and not listen to what's happening around us, because as we all know, there's been such significant impact externally, that we've had no control over. And so how do we stay informed and educated on what's going on? And so I would just say, again, I do not follow the stock market ticker all day long. I'm not one of those people that, become sort of prisoner to it. But, I would say a couple of the podcasts and daily emails that I subscribe to, the Need to Know is a daily email. It's a quick hit on all of the headlines. If you want to listen to similar in podcast form, it's called Skim This. And again, it just gives you quick hit headlines where you don't have to sit down and read any type of publication from beginning to end. And it gives you those quick hits of sound bites. And then you can click on the hyperlink if you want to read further into the article, if it's something that's important or specific to you and your role. I think Bloomberg Businessweek podcast is one that, again, gives you sort of deep dive into a couple of specific topics. I love the podcast right now, Hello Monday by Jessie Hempel. She's a senior editor at LinkedIn. So she's talking about all things that are sort of transformative in virtual workspace and all of that. And any of the TED Business podcasts, I think, are really awesome. But again, I think you've got to just set aside time every day to invest in that for yourself and for your team and for your organization.
Great recommendations. Love those. Marie.
I think Tara covered so much, and I would agree with all of that. And Skim This is one of my dailies. I'm similar to Tara, not necessarily the person who's going to pay attention to the market all day long or read Wall Street Journal cover to cover. But I think keeping tabs on that is important. But you asked about building your financial knowledge, or maybe growing that part of your toolbox. The one thing I would add that I think is a great resource, and there are plenty of them, but there's so many great tools online now for training and education that are free to low cost, that allow you to do things at your own pace and what you can fit into your life. But one that just pops to mind, and I know Tara mentioned another LinkedIn person, but LinkedIn Learning. So the site of LinkedIn, they have so much out there. From kind of 1-hour courses to, months of training to everything in between, in all kinds of areas. And we take advantage of it internally, certainly from an external point of view to learn new things. I think that's just one area, and there are plenty of others like it out there. But if you look at LinkedIn Learning and you want to learn something about, financial markets or, accounting principles, or there's something out there for you that you can pick up without having to formally enroll in a class, in a university or a college, but that might be an option too. But it depends on what level of skill you want to develop, but don't be afraid to look at some of those pieces. And they're a great thing to, again, bring it back to the recruiting side of things, to be able to discuss or to point out or to share in an interview situation, or in a time when you're looking at a job that maybe requires something you didn't have, and it shows that you also are taking the initiative to learn something new and to try something new.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, going back again to when I started with Enterprise, I was fortunate and lucky enough to have a manager that sat me down to talk about the importance of 401k. Even just something as basic as that. It's like, we have to, as leaders, make sure that we are talking about it and making sure that we emphasize how important something like that is. And it starts with that. But then I was sharing with Tara that, I got to a point where I was fortunate where I had put a certain amount into 401k and you can't go over a certain amount. So I was like, well, what do you do then? I don't know how to save money. I don't know where to go to. And that's where I also got introduced to an advisor. And I loved that. For me, I was very intimidated. I thought that with any type of financial decision, it had to be super aggressive. You had to know everything about the stocks. And I'm like, I don't have time to know any of that stuff. And I don't want to. But I quickly learned that there's a lot of options that are lower risk that are phenomenal options to be able to invest. And I think unless we talk more about it openly and educate each other on it, then it kind of holds us back from where we can really go with that piece. So I love having these types of conversations and learning more about it. And yes, I agree that those additional trainings, I know one of my employees said to me the other day, hey, there's a topic that they're going to do a webinar on for 401k and investing. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, I didn't even know those were options. So it's really cool to seek out those types of things. Thank you. You already mentioned it, Tara, but obviously things are very difficult in the workforce and it's very challenging right now. We have two sides to this question. We have folks that are looking to get back into the workforce, and then we have folks that want to focus on their career and make sure that they do incorporate more of this financial acumen piece. What kind of advice would you give for the folks that are looking to get back into the workforce as it relates to this?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question, Molly. I think that, there's a couple of different things. Whenever I'm giving career advice, whether it's, returning to the workforce or trying to progress your career, I think a couple of different things. First and foremost, whether you're trying to advance your career within an organization or an industry or getting back into it, I think it all begins with you, your personal brand, your resume, your scoreboard, however you want to look at it. But what are you bringing to the table? And I think, having that self-awareness to really recognize, where are your strengths? Where are your opportunities? I know Marie will be able to speak to this better than I, because she lives and breathes, the recruitment space and talent acquisition. And so, I think beginning there and really just having a good, strong foundation and understanding, what is your personal brand? What do you bring to the table? What are the strengths, and why would an organization be kicking themselves if they let you pass by? And so understanding that and really having confidence in what you bring to the table and what your brand is, and if you're internally trying to move up, having the scoreboard to refute any potential challenges or reasons why you shouldn't be the person that's selected for that additional responsibility. I think that having advocates are incredibly important. Mentors are very important. I think mentors help you work through things that you need to work through. But I always say that advocates are even more critical, especially if you're trying to re-enter the workforce, if you're trying to move your way up an organization. Having advocates, those are people that you surround yourselves that understand, what your personal brand is. Who is Molly? What's she bringing to the table? Where are her strengths? Where are her weaknesses, and opportunities, so that they can be the eyes and ears and the voice for you when you're not there. Always having those advocates in all parts of your life. And this could be personally, professionally, but people that know exactly who you are and what you're made up of, so that they can be that voice and that representation for you, and open doors for you that you might not even know are available to you. And so I think that that's incredibly important. Then it's having the support outside of work. Whoever those people are in your world, your partner, your spouse, your friends, your family, your pet, whoever that might be. I just think having support around you outside of your career is incredibly important, because when you're going to maybe take a leap of faith and maybe switch industries, or you want to take and raise your hand for an opportunity that's bigger responsibility within your organization, having that support system at home is incredibly, incredibly important, because you need that backing, you need that cheerleader, you need that support. And so whoever that might be in your world, talking to them about it and helping, kind of work through some of your jitters or your concerns, because those are your most, important cheerleader. You would cheer them on, to the end of time. And so you want to hear, some of their feedback and have that support, so they can help build up your confidence as you're reaching for something different. And then my final piece is always keep an open mind. There are so many doors that will open for you if you keep an open mind. And it's helped me in my career because my career has taken so many different divergent paths that have given me a ton of diverse experience, which I think has helped prepare me better than if I had just taken a very linear path. And sometimes we get laser focused on this is the goal, this is the end game, this is the only job that I'm cut out for, that I want, that I think I'll be successful with. And I think just keeping that open mind for something that might feel a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit outside of the box, a little bit something different that you never saw yourself doing, having that diversity of experience, I think is incredibly marketable today. And I think keeping an open mind will just give you and provide you more opportunities than if you keep too narrow focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, I mean, obviously we all went through it. There's a lot of change, and with COVID, unfortunately, there were people that were let go from the company, that were furloughed. So we also, I think even in my friends and family in my network, so many people had to prepare and look at their skill set and realize what do they bring to the workforce and what is that value they bring. And I think what I'm most proud about with my team and, the company itself is we do a phenomenal job, and with GBTA and WINiT as well, is such an incredible amount of network that we have. The support, the online resources, everything that's here to help us encourage and work as a team. I mean, that alone is going to build and help support your next position of where you go. So I felt really great that although, some of my teammates had to move on to a different opportunity, I knew that they were well sought after because they had such great branding and they had invested so much in their career, and that they were going to be a huge asset to some other company.
Molly, and I think that's a really good point. And one thing that WINiT is working on right now is a new mentoring program that's going to be launched this next year. And it's not exclusive to, hey, I need a job, so I want to reach out to people, but it's very much, I know that in feedback from past roles, I've been told that this is an area of opportunity for me. The design of the new networking or mentoring program is going to be one that if I want to work on this one skill set, then maybe I can seek out Marie because she's listed that that's a strength, or that's a segment of her experience that she can bring to the table. And you could work with that mentor one-on-one for a specific thing that you want to focus on. So I think that's going to be a really exciting opportunity for the women within the travel space.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. Marie, how about you?
Yeah, I don't know that there's much left. Everything I was about to say, Tara said, or Molly followed with, but that's okay. That's good. That means that it's good advice if we're all thinking the same thing. But, I think one of the things that Tara mentioned that I'll just kind of build on first is that open-mindedness. That was the first thing that came to mind when I think about the advice that I give, no matter if it's the progression or the return to the workforce. And that is, whether it's within an organization, in a new company, a new role, I think the more open-minded you are about what those potential opportunities could be, and the more doors are going to open for you. It's still a process. You still have time to figure it out, but being open-minded on the front end to see and say what might work for me, and how would I fit into this? I think about it, we deal with it all the time at Enterprise. I think we probably all did it when we started our careers. I didn't go to college. To rent cars is a common thing. But that open-mindedness to look past, something that may not seem as good a fit, like the industry, to understand then what does that really mean? What will I learn? What will I do? Who will I work with? What's the culture like? Are they going to develop me? Are they going to give me opportunities to learn new things? Those are the things as a job seeker that I encourage you to really put into how you go through the job search, because while it's a very competitive market, it's competitive on our end right now. It's a really good one for you. So it's a good time to be able to say, what am I capable of? And that's back to the those life skills or soft skills, and the idea of, it's not necessarily what job titles have I held or what experience box can I check, but what am I capable of? So an example might be, you may not have ever had a job that's had the word sales in it, but do you have the ability to sell? Or do you have, have you had examples in your past where you've been successful at, persuading for an idea or a concept or a team project. It could be all different things, but being able to articulate those transferable and softer life skills is probably the key. And so when Tara mentioned that, I'll just reiterate how important it is not only to recognize what you bring to the table, that, what you can do that may not have been what you've already done experience-wise, but taking the time and it's really practice. I mean, just as anything you do, to be able to articulate how you can do it. Because if I'm a recruiter or a hiring manager, same example, are you good at sales is saying yes doesn't tell me anything. Coming back with an example of, while I may not have had sales experience on my resume, here's an example of where I was successful in selling an idea, or showing my persuasive skills by, so coming up with something from your past. It's how we interview, but it's also a good way to think about what you bring and bring forward. The other thing I would say, and again, it just kind of adds on to what Molly and Tara already did, is you have this network right here. You have other networks, I'm sure, and generalizing, women are less likely to be confident, but in general, everybody can just network and connect. And I would always say, being more confident than you're comfortable with. So taking that, that risk or that chance, that's really not a big one, to reach out to someone you may not know, but you want to learn more from, or to ask for a connection, or to learn more about what they do, or to ask for help. There's an opportunity, especially as you look to move ahead or move back into the workforce, to just take those steps, because that interpersonal connection within a company or within a role, it helps you a lot as you go through the process. One, it takes you from being just a list of people that may be interested in this job to having, more of a connection, but it gives you more insight into what to expect. I think the advice has been great. I don't know that I can add any more to it, but please, if you have any questions, take advantage. This is one of those times you have some people who, this is like the back behind the curtain, ask the questions that you're afraid to ask. Otherwise, they're kind of anonymous, because we just see them in the chat box.
Yeah, one of the things I would add is, with a sales background, is we know a lot about negotiating, and that's what we do all day, every day. But sometimes internally, as you develop throughout your career and you want to get to that next level, I think that's one of those areas that we can sharpen a little bit more and have a little more confidence in. So that's one of the things that we're focusing on, is like, how do you sharpen your negotiation skills internally to advocate for yourself, to speak up, and be able to deliver on what that value is. I saw a note in the chat. Let's see. Please feel free to ask questions. Wow, quiet group.
I know we have to have some questions out there now.
No. Feel free to unmute yourself. You can speak up, or you can just put it in the chat.
Or if you have a question that you want it to be anonymous, you can send it to one of the three of us individually. We'd be willing to put it out there with having you remain anonymous, if that's more comfortable for you. But happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Quiet.
We obviously got it all.
I know. We must have covered everything. I don't think we could ever stop talking about it, because it's that exciting, but we definitely appreciate everyone joining the call today. Thank you so much to Tara and Marie. Always an honor to be able to learn more about everything that you've learned throughout your careers, and all of the knowledge that you share with us. So thank you very much. Thank you, GBTA and WINiT. We definitely appreciate giving us this platform to talk openly about something that can be a little bit one of those scarier topics. So we appreciate it. And I don't see any questions. So I guess we're going to give you back some time in your day. Hopefully you took away a lot of things from this, and happy holidays.
Thank you so much, Molly. Appreciate you moderating. Such a great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.